Hello and welcome back to another glorious week of league action. I am Rivington Bisson III, and I am lucky enough to be joined by the scholar of Academy, Alberto Crumser and Hifo himself. Do you have your scrolls and tablets ready?
I do, but it's been borrowed from Pastry Time, the original Academy scholar.
This is true. This is true. He is a wealth of information and delicious foods. Anyways, today we have a beautiful collection of games for you, starting with Team Liquid versus Counter Logic Gaming, and it only gets better from there all the way through. FlyQuest challenges a 100 Thieves Academy following that, and we come up to Cloud9 Academy facing TSM Academy with two more even after that before we call it a day. And there is so much to talk about as we get into these. But before we get into the games, let's take a look at the stakes for these matchups, how the rosters are stacking up here as we look at the standings. And obviously TSM is on top. They have just been mowing down the competition in Academy, but there's a few close contenders there, and then it trickles down to seeing Team Liquid at the bottom, which is pretty crazy, Crumbs.
That TSM C9 matchup is going to be the hype of today. It's cool that TSM could even drop the game and still remain on top. However, both teams are on a 5-game win streak, so this is huge when it comes to which one really is dominating Academy in the current time, because most of the Cloud9 losses were the first 3 games of the split.
It's going to be absolutely amazing between those two for this one. We'll kick things off by here, before we get into games, by looking at the Samsung SSD Fast 5 for the Academy League, just to give you an idea of where everybody is at. So, going over these, since last week, both Fake God and Inori have jumped 3 spots in their respective positions into that #1 spot, which looks nice for them. Winston left 7 spots to break into the top 3. 7 spots. Winston does leaping. I think I've heard that somewhere in a different game. Evolved has pushed back into the top 3 after dropping out last week, and we see him play today, so we'll see if he represents a little bit higher of a spot too. With teams with the fastest average for the entire team are IMT, CLG, and TSM. Again, seeing TSM today, and CLG.
I want to see what happens with Apollo, Hakuho, and Insanity, who have now departed Academy and are on to LCS. So they're leaving behind their legacy instilled in the Samsung Fast 5. So maybe somebody else can top them off and feel the honor of saying, hey, we are now faster than an LCS team.
So you had a fast jungle 6. If you have like a gentleman's agreement, you haven't been touched. What is your fast jungle 6?
Right. So I just did this yesterday, and I hit level 6. Now, I have to test it in the game, but I'm fairly certain that you don't actually need any experience from the lanes. You do a full clear, both scuttles, and then you do the same clear again, and you'll hit level 6, which sounds pretty straightforward, but the reality is there's not a lot of champions that can actually tank the second spawn of your jungle creeps as they get a lot stronger. You need a very specific kind of champion that is not necessarily mana reliant. So I was able to pull this off on Nocturne because he got the buff on his Umbral Glaives that allows him to just mow down those camps and isn't necessarily mana reliant. Olaf, you would need blue buffs on Olaf to be able to pull this off.
Cycle. Okay. Well, moving on, our first matchup of the day, as Crumbs put some knowledge into your head to start things off, is Team Liquid challenging Counter Logic Gaming Academy, and TL is in last place. Crumbs, we just talked about it a second ago, but it's showing they can't seem to find the way to right the ship right now.
Yeah, I thought their easiest matchup was last week against FlyQuest, a team that was on a pretty steep losing spree, considering their only wins had come in the first week of Academy. Now, Team Liquid was unable to take the win there, and they actually put up a decent fight against the now Academy Immortals roster, but I think their drafting has been somewhat suspect. But beyond that, I was mostly thinking that Yasui and Grig would be able to get it together. The Grig played in the LCS. Yasui has been pretty solid in the regular split of Academy. But there's a lot of mistakes that the individual players are making, whether it's going for plays at the time of objectives or just flat out losing in the laning phase. So there's a lot of things going wrong. We just know the players individually have given us better performance, so we want to see them deliver that again.
And they get a bit of a change up to look at on the other side of the rift. Is CLG is subbing in Ruin to the top lane.
That is strange to me because Deus was pretty good. I think he was actually doing a fine job on his Ornn, on his Wukong, so maybe it's more like Deus getting a chance at the LCS. We don't actually know what's going on with
Right.
CLG right now, so we're not going to speculate too much on that. But what we do know is that Ruins has been having a hard time in the LCS, but he's pretty proficient at solo queue, and he has a lot of champions that perform fairly well here in Academy, like the Rumble that we see Huni bust out, and we've seen him play the
Yeah.
Jace. In Academy, that kind of pick should get him a strong advantage and carry the game from the top lane.
For sure. And looking at some of CLG's comps here, they are aiming to snap a 3-game losing streak. So if they can keep with that solid objective focus and an entertaining draft here, something that just engages and engages, maybe that should help them there.
Entertaining drafts is what we got from them against C9, which was pretty exciting to see that they had no marksman. You had the Pantheon Talia bottom lane. Yet, no matter how exciting your draft is, the game still revolves around the fundamentals, which is you got to prioritize those objectives. And that is where I think CLG has been lacking a little bit. In the early stages of Academy, they were picking these hard engaged compositions and focusing on fighting around those objectives, which I thought was a great sign. Now, it looks like they've deviated perhaps too much into the realm of experimentation while not sticking to those fundamentals. You can't break the rules if you don't know them.
Right. And as we head to champion select, just thinking about, Team Liquid is at the bottom of the table right now. And CLG wins, it's an expected win. But where does it leave CLG when they don't win this game, right?
I think it leads us back to this cul-de-sac that we had for CLG in Spring Split, where they were not the strongest team thus far, and taking a loss here against the Academy roster would really hurt because this team was not able to beat the FlyQuest team, which was on a big losing streak as well. So CLG should have more firepower in the top lane. We don't really know where Ruin stands in comparison to Deus, but he is playing LCS and Deus was not, so that should count for something. And taking a loss here with him coming in should hurt this team even more, but I still favor them in this matchup because of TL's struggles.
Let's see what they have for picks and bans here. It is going to be Trundle set out. They take a bit of that tank and initiation away from the side of Counter Logic Gaming, and they say, hey, Rikara, Yama, you will not have a decent bot lane to start off, and they're going to try to pinch what happens in that marksman position from the side of CLG.
Yeah, these are pretty targeted bans towards Rikara. I would not have expected him to be the target bans here. I think a lot of the game has come down specifically to Yasui as the bigger playmaker for TL Academy, but this should just be TL trying to pinch Team Liquid into a specific kind of pick, and then you can go for something else. So an example would be you get Rikara to maybe first pick the Aphelios. Oh yeah, first pick Aphelios. So this feels like a bait, right? You want Team Liquid to first pick the Aphelios, but they're not going to go for it. They're going to get the Volibear. And you could have gone with something like a mage in the bottom lane or even the Ziggs Bard bot lane. So even CLG doesn't want to take that themselves. So they're going with a Wombo combo from the get-go.
I like that we're seeing the MF again. Stixay played MF. So we're going to see that again from now Counter Logic Gaming Academy. That was their game against TSM, actually. That was a little bit of the rivalry resurgence we saw. It was a pretty good back and forth. Volibear, like you said, getting locked in. The Orion is there, so Tuesday can make plays. And what happens for the rest of TL's side? Yasui can be aggressive. He's got a decent champion pool. Oh, my, please, I was going to say, please bring back the Aurelia for him. And that may be going into the mid lane.
I think you're totally right. That has to be the Aurelia mid right now. Blinding that top would make no sense at this point. You usually just want to take whatever the CLG roster has already taken, and here you'd probably take your marksman in the bottom lane or even a support. So try to make sure that you hide your picks as much as possible. Volibear is not one that you have to worry about hiding. He's so proficient in the jungle. But whoa, Jenkins thinking that his Kennen's gonna be locked in. I don't know about that one. This early on for a Kennen could be punished by Ruin.
It's so tough, loving Kennen so much. He was kind of my 1 to 30.
I remember that. That was your guy.
Any matchup you get where the other opponent can just either gets health or builds health right away, you just say thanks. Like you stun bot everybody else then, and you hope to be able to kill the squishy. So definitely a difficult lane, can be played right, and if you do have the upper hand, he's such a harass component for the rest of the team where you can just win a lane. Jace picked up though, could be tough. He does have ways to get into these fights right now, so if TL can get to a fight phase, they may be able to overrun CLG's kind of initiation comp they've been wanting to run.
This is what I suspected Ruin to want to bust out, subbing into Academy. You don't want to be picking something like an Ornn more defensively. You're an LCS player. You should be able to show up here and hard carry from the top lane. So the Jace will do that, and he's going to take it up into Jenkins' best matchup, best champion. Jenkins has had the Kennen banned against him, I think, pretty much all of last year. I don't think anybody really wanted to face him on that pick, and it's only now that Kennen is making a resurgence because the LCK has been really prioritizing Kennen. They really like him as a pick, but it's still a champion that doesn't have an easy access into the backline depending on what CLG drafts. Now, this is why I think the Kennen makes some sense, because the mid lane and AD are immobile already, and with the Jace locked in, if it gets to the team fight phase, there is an opportunity for Kennen to actually engage, but he will need to have that flash. He will need those deep boards. Keep in mind, the Orianna speed and the gate can really deter that Kennen flank.
Yeah, if Flash is down, everything from TL is just phoned in, right? Volibear's running at you. Kennen's going to be right behind him. Like, they're diving in, and it should be kiteable here by CL.
Look at those bans from CLG. What in the world is that? 5 marksmen?
They wanted an easy bot lane, but now they just want a easy peasy bot lane.
They are begging Ricard to pick Aphelios at this point.
Remember TL got pushed into this as well, and Jat was like, that's not going to happen. We're not playing that against C9.
It just can be abused so much, but Team Liquid says, all right, okay, we'll take it.
Yeah. We'll test the waters on this one and see actually why they want us to pick it. I like it, though. I mean, you should be able to play around anything. Pressure is pressure. If you get 3 dove all the time, hopefully you're just getting enough vision up to make sure you know what's coming. Last pick here, support for Team Liquid Academy. They can go all around the board here. And talking a little about Jenkins real quick before we see this pick, might be a Braum. He's got quite a champion pool already this split. He went to Vlad in there, a few plays of Wukong, so the Kennen bringing this out, he's definitely comfortable to kind of expand a bit in these matches.
You definitely will have to, and always starting to go back to your comfort picks is a great way to be breaking those losing streaks. And speaking of comfort, Braum, the most picked support, I think even champion in competitive play, is just going to be the guaranteed measure so that this Aphelios does not get abused in the bottom. I don't think CLG's comp necessarily abuse this matchup. Like, MF into Aphelios isn't that nightmarish for Aphelios. It's not like you're auto-winning that lane, and with Braum there to protect you, this could not be a more keep Aphelios safe. Protect Romeo here to make sure that he can get out of the laning phase, because you can be blocking those shock blasts, you're going to be blocking that ball, do a little bit of work against MF. So this is Team Liquid saying keep Ricard and Yama safe and have Grig play around Jenkins and Yasui, because Melee in the mid lane wants some help, and Kennen versus Jace definitely wants some help.
I'm excited to see more things being picked like the Misfortune, where, you know, a few splits ago, people would give you an answer as to, oh, there's just something better to pick, right? There's something more mobile. There's something more safe. And now teams are comping around that to help that situation. You know, we put more tanks in front of something that needs to stand still. Great, that worked, you know. So seeing how things have kind of evolved, or just because you're banning 5 ADs out from someone else so you can pick the MF. Like, I cannot wait to see what CLG is actually trying to get out of this by giving or making TL pick Aphelios.
Exactly. They have to punish the bottom lane. Otherwise, we're going to feel like their advantages from the draft have just gone nowhere. You're red side, you last pick the Rakan, you want to engage into the bottom lane, you want to roam a lot with MS strut and the Rakan's mobility. So they need to be finding those fights and punishing the pick that they very obviously coerced CLG into taking.
Imagine if there was a boxing score in there somewhere where they're like, well, I'd say they got about 3 points out of champion select, so they may not have to worry about how the game goes.
Yeah, that's definitely it, right? You want to get those champion select points as quickly as you can.
So is CLG actually an entertaining draft altogether? We don't see them going with that full engaged draft that we usually see them. A little bit more skirmish, set up for some objectives if they need to use the Jace. And Team Liquid, again, they can just pull out all the stops. They have to play loose here, break the streak, and make sure that they can get themselves into a place where they're feeling comfortable and teams can't just ban them out, bully them in champion select here, because it does seem like having troubles in-game, you don't want to start having troubles in champion select too, or it's never going to come around.
Exactly, and in-game Team Liquid will want to make sure that those solo lanes get really far ahead. We've all been in the position where a Kennen gets ahead in lane, you can't gank him, especially if you got a squishy jungler. He's going to 1v2 you. Same thing with the Aurelia. She gets ahead, you're 1v2ing. So it's a real possibility that especially once Volibear gets level 6, we have such an emphasis from Team Liquid in the solo lanes that eventually they can start split pushing and being quite defensive in their 1-3-1 if they want to keep the Aphelios and Braum in the mid lane as well. So there's a lot of possibilities that we'd like to see them do. However, we haven't actually seen them stick to these ways of playing the game. There have been just all about bloodthirsty plays. It's cost them a lot of games in the past where individuals are trying to play and make when certain objectives are up on other sides of the map. So if they can get sufficiently far ahead enough on these champions, they can actually still go for those plays and come out ahead. So they've got the picks to do it, but we still want to make sure that they focus on the objectives because there is no better way to win League of Legends right now.
Well, we get our answers in just a few minutes. We're stepping away to build game delay, but we will be right back with the start of the game. Don't go anywhere. We're back, and we are about to get into game for LCS Academy, or just Academy, or LCS Academy. Some players from LCS, some Academy. Ruin is on CLG today. But anyway, it is week 5, Crumbs. How did we get here so quick? It's kind of blowing my mind. The time of the summer has passed so quick, and we're seeing different teams on top now. Some of the ones we expected to see up there on top, but it's already been topsy-turvy.
It's been topsy-turvy indeed, yet as with all topsy-turvy situations, eventually some rise to the top, and that's what we've seen out of TSM. 7-1, great lead, and Cloud9 that is making a beeline for the top. You've got a few other contenders in there with EG and Golden Guardians moving up, but down here in the bottom with Team Liquid, we've got CLG that started super hot with the only change being the coach, and now they faltered through the middle of the split, but this is the time for them to start rallying back around around. Get out of that losing streak and make sure that you get yourself back on the board. Now, a lot of this gameplay will come down to that Lee Sin. Fracas playing Lee. This is such a difficult pick to pilot right now. Not only do you need your teammates to understand how to play around you, but mechanically, you have to be on point. You got to be making so many kick flashes. You got to be thinking about those 200 IQ kicks all the time, because if you're not getting the value that you need out of this champion, and you might as well have been playing something like a Trundle, a Rek'Sai, or a Jarvan just to be more useful later into the game.
Lee's another fun one to think about. As I was just kind of talking about how champions kind of, with the return on investment, who has more value, that's why they're being picked. It's like back in, where was the change for me is kind of the question. But back in the day, you know, it's like, oh, Lee falls off too much. Is it just that everybody's so good at the kick now or ready to produce a kick? And because he even took his own safeguard away, right? No self-shield, has a shield and some kind of stuff.
Well, I think what happened with Lee, he's still very strong, right? Like, I think that he's been moving away from a very interesting kind of build. So the Lee that we know, or used to know mostly, was the Bruiser Lee Sin, where you'd go something like a Black Cleaver and you'd be up there in the front lines. Now, the problem is that kind of playstyle doesn't really work that well anymore. And it's very specific to the game, and you're not getting as much value as you would out of other champions that could be bruisers, like a Trundle or like the Volibear, right? Those are significantly better picks for playing that same role. His engage, still as difficult as ever. Teams have gotten a lot better at doing that. But the build that now makes Lee, I think, a little bit more viable has been the lethality Lee Sin, which means that you're going essentially full assassin. You're taking advantage of that high damage burst that you can deal, but so much of it relies on your mechanical ability. You need to be able to outplay your opponent significantly and constantly, because if you get caught, you're instantly dead, and you have a small window where you can actually one-shot people. But if you can pull it off, Lee just becomes an absolute menace. And it's the items like the Umbral Glaive that really suit his playstyle. Things like the Edge of Night, that kind of build I think is really useful, but not everybody can play it.
And I love watching it too, because they're always those picks like the Lee and other things are ones that can surprise you and make plays. I think they have a special place in everyone's heart when someone locks it in and you get to see the plays that you try to make as well. I think that was one of my favorite things, is you see FLICKR make a sick play and then you can go in a game and try it. So all that stuff, always keeping the addiction and love for Lee going. Ruin here, we'll get to watch and see what he does in the top side against Jenkins. Should have the early aggression. Now that you have 6 skills to his 2, but yeah, is right. Getting back with a quick stun. I like the way Jenkins is actually holding that passive shuriken that he's got up on each of his attacks.
That was a really good trade from Jenkins there. I mean, he does have the door in play, but we got to fight here against Volibear, and he's going to die right away. Goodbye.
Did you see the water balloon she threw at him over the wall? Hit him right in the back of the head. Took him down. Wet fur for Greg. He is out of there. And first blood going over to win. Flash for that one at 2 at the last second just to get into range. And he gets double buffs in the bot lane. That feels sweet. Let's see this again.
Okay, so Greg thinking that he has an opportunity to go for that Scuttle Crab. And that's what happens when you don't have priority in your lanes. The bottom lane had already shoved in. He had it right away, but it's just not worth it at that point. Now he's going to go to the top side and try to get that crab, but the damage is done. Misfortune gets that kill. And if you ever laned against an MF that has blue buff, you know how incredibly obnoxious you can be. Just spamming Make It Rain and double ups non-stop.
He's still got both scuttles.
Yeah, that's really good. That is on Fracas to not have beeline straight for that top scuttle. Yeah,
Greg being able to pick that up. Good wards on CLG for that as well. We saw that replay. There was one in Pixel Brush up top and then one below. So big eyes on Fracas, or as Greg is trying to do that. Fracas now waiting to see if Greg will make his presence known in the top side, and does call correctly. Counter gank coming in, but it might be a gank. Oh, his Q misses. There's no Sonic Strike coming in here. And new few shots from Ruin. They're going to pick up their first kill. So a bit of a mix-up here as Jenkins goes a little too hard to start things off. And even with Fracas missing, CLG comes out on top of that play.
Ooh, so CLG knew that something was up. Greg had made it to the top side, had gone for that crab. That is where he started his camp. He ended bot side. Yeah. And Team Liquid should have known that Fracas was in that side of the map. So you do the deduction that you just got killed in the bottom crab. So he finished in that side of the map. He had both buffs, and he's not going to base and go straight back to the bottom side because his camps aren't up. He should go back to the top side because that is where either he started and finished those camps or those camps are still around. So committing for that play there, not respecting what Fragas' route could have been, and they paid dearly for it because Jenkins lost his flash, and Jace now has that lethality build, which is going to start really hurting. He's lucky that he has enough gold for that Seeker's arm guard, but it's still going to be a big favorable lane for Ruin.
And we're seeing it down here in bot for Wind and Phil on CLG as well. This Morgana, this Misfortune and Rakan combination can just dump damage onto Rikara. And they don't have to stay in range if he has Severum up, if he has Gravitum up, if anything. They just hop back behind the minions. Wind can attack from double up, make it rain, and Phil's in there with a quick knock-up, so they can't retaliate if they wanted to. They're actually giving Yama and Rikara a hard time. It hasn't been too bad in CS, and they haven't been able to really pinch down on a kill, but they are trying. I wonder if they'll be able to really get the result out of this lane that they wanted.
That's the idea that they have in mind when you're taking the MF here. You want to keep the Aphelios at arm's length. You want to use that ultimate to zone him off during a fight, maybe catch him a few ticks, and then follow up with Ruin with a Shock Blast, and that should be enough to either prevent him from dealing significant damage or just kill him flat out. Now, the thing that has always been the bane of Misfortunes is, do they actually get a full ultimate off, and is it in the right angle? Because so many times teams have been playing against Misfortune and learning how to play around her, whether it's saving, say, the Braum ultimate to immediately cast it when you see the MF positioning for it, or the Volibear saving his stun to make sure that she doesn't get it off. Same thing with the Kennen. So they have a lot of tools to deal with it. The danger for Team Liquid is that all these tools likely put themselves in range of MF, so they have to play it correctly in order to not get melted.
Let's see what we got. Oh, they're not going to go for it. Remind me to call you on the Drake game.
Okay.
Drake 3 here. So, looking at Fragas, he's getting a little counter jungling done, feeling pretty good. He's kind of just hovering around Ruin every time he's pushed up. I like the pressure they're putting on Ruin, or for Ruin, I should say, as there's a Shock Blast, a few attacks, and the Slicing Maelstrom locks Ruin down for only a little bit of time. He gets out, though, with 150. Greg was close. Greg may ult here as they come up top. No, Yasui has not gotten the inside track on Tuesday. Tuesday was way quicker there on the roam.
We saw this happening from that first kill. The Kennen having to play defensive, kill going over to Ruin, and then chunks him out just enough so that Fragas can be counter jungling on the side of the map and also take him out. So playing to your LCS player, very good win condition. We've seen 100 Thieves win an entire split doing that in Academy. Ruin not entirely at the level of Someday, but still a very strong top laner that can deliver some results, as he's already well on his way to what looks to be the Ghostblade first.
Yasui didn't take too much damage there off the beginning. He is on Grig's side. Will he be able to hit him? Hit the Vanguard, so it's going to slow Tuesday and Phil as the teleport comes in. Grig, being a meat shield, stops that Shock Blast from happening, and they may just try to go for Rift Herald since they used quite a bit of resource on the side of CLG here. And they will start it. Watching the bot lane get ulted. Nice block by Yama, as they're going to be able to get not even a plate here. That was a good job. Good call by Win.
That is very nice. A strong ability for Misfortune to be able to sit down there and wave clear entirely. Not a lot of champions can actually clear an entire wave. It's reminiscent of a Rumble ultimate or a GP ult that just lets you take the side lane by yourself, freeze up your support to make a play on another side of the map. Now you punish the flash from Yasui, so it's a good opportunity to go back to that lane because Phil has both summoners up. Lee Sin going with a very high damage build should be able to deal enough damage combined with the Orianna to also get Yasui behind, because he's started to build up a fairly healthy lead in the mid lane just by farming, as he already has the highest CS in the game, just about to hit 100.
Boom. Super fast. He's actually alone in the mid lane. Rotation for the... Okay, so they won't crash that. I thought I was going right into the turret as he was leaving. I was like, wait, Tuesday? You know how to control that wave. So yeah, he'll be able to pick up some nice minions here, but he is down significantly. There's not 20 minions sitting right there in front of him. So Tuesday, still Orianna. As we said, CLG more so looking for the skirmish fights this time. We saw them teleporting in to get some Shock Blasts out. Ruin versus the Kennen. Surges forward for one more Thundering Shuriken. Gets him with that. And Jenkins going for the Zanya's build right away. There's the ulti coming in from Greg. They are going to get the kill back onto Ruin, and that feels good as Greg picks that one up. Jenkins is going to be a stun bot anyway, so I like the way that kill that went to Greg.
Well played there out of Team Liquid. Now, Ruin, I think he was dead either way, even if he didn't go for that trade. Volibear's in the top side. They're both level 6. Jenkins with Flash, Greg with Flash against a lonely Jace. He is going to be in some trouble. CLG can answer with a Dragon, but this is what had hurt them before, especially in the match against Cloud9. This Dragon prioritization is very slow. This is 11 minutes into the game, and you just got your first Drake, especially if you're having the Lee Sin that's going to fall off. You want to make sure that you have a much easier time stacking these earlier into the game. So CLG needs to put a stronger priority on these if they want to continue moving forward into this game, because Ruin, kind of a sitting duck up there. He now has the Merc Treads that can help at least in that regard, but as long as his Flash is still down, Volley and Kennen will not have a hard time killing him. They can just disable the turret. It doesn't really matter that you think you're safe. You're not. It's a bear.
All right, so next question. Half cooldown already through. Where do you want to see this Rift Herald?
Okay, so I would like to see it in the top lane right now. I think that you're already here. This is a good opportunity. You have the Rakan already roaming, so this is a good move. I think Wind is just going to be ulting the wave again, and yep, there it is. Right, you get your first brick over here, free up the lane from Ruin, and from this, Jace should be significantly far ahead over the Kennen, and that should keep him safe. Right? At least it keeps him safe until this wave crashes. Wind hasn't even needed to ulti into the bottom. This is where Team Liquid needs to be thinking about how to punish the misfortune and not so much about defending the Kennen.
So much damage, and they're leaving Wind by himself. Usually you see this with an Ezreal, not a misfortune. Wind's able to just keep Rikara and Yama at bay, as they don't really have any resources to get under a turret for that long. They'll just make it rained and slowed as they walk around. So Wind again holds bot. He's not even that far off on CS as well. This is giving Phil so much time to roam around. We just saw Yasui throw up the thumbs up because Phil tried to gank mid. Flawless duet, just missing, but he goes back in.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. Oh, if Phil and Wind had the inside track. They get baited into the fight. He gets out, though. The quickness is used so they can get to safety. But I don't know how safe this is, Crumbs. They're trying to get away from the turret, but now they don't have any turret protection. Which way do you even play this one? Wind's trying to run for his life. He gets that strut back on for the movement speed. He's going to stay alive. And it is going to be Phil going down to save the VIP. All summoners used as CLG tried to exit stage right.
Valiant effort there from Phil, knowing that his life is not as valuable as his AD carries, but you nailed it for real. Like, what was that from Fracas? You just dodged the bullet. Seeing the Aurelia, the champion that can easily one-shot you as your AD Lee Sin, and immediately just goes back in. You saw how quickly Greg saw how big of an opportunity that was to one-shot that Lee Sin. Does not hesitate to flash stun him, and that whole sequence of events really started to give a lot more gold into the pocket of the Aphelios, who, keep in mind, was laning against a misfortune that had double buffs. Now, Phil has roamed a lot, which I think has contributed to that CS lead building up for the Aphelios, but it's still a 200-year champion.
Oh, Slicing Maelstrom goes in. Nice shockwave back. Keep a little bit of that damage away from the rest of their team, but Team Liquid not afraid to start fighting. The first time Jenkins can get out of lane. Flash engage in the mid lane. They're trying to shut down CLG's movement here, as they know they've lost a bit of that map with the first turret going down. We'll still have second Rift Herald time to come up since the first one was taken down so early. Yasui is just letting the emotes fly. He's trying to get in the head of Tuesday right now.
Oh, definitely a good time to get into their heads, because at least when you see your jungler do that, you're already in your own head thinking, what was that? What just happened? And CLG loses their turret, but there's a TP down here. This is it's a double TP.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, definitely double. Just Jace alone is not the most threatening thing, but now with the other teammates, CLG has 4 strong on the bot side, and they are easily able to take down the support. Yama's out of this fight. Drake's in 1 minute. Yama should be able to make himself present for that fight, but TP will be up. Jenkins should have ultimate. So TL should not be too worse for the wear here. They just won't have as much vision, I think. CLG wants more, though. Grums, they are trying to put the pressure on. It seems like they may call off the shot on this one as they don't have enough.
I think this is a mistake from CLG, Rib. They TP'd so early. Now they're not going to be able to base in time for this Dragon. Jenkins was able to take that turret into the top lane. He still has TP, will have the Slicing Maelstrom, and CLG will be strapped from the resources they used in that earlier play to take this Dragon fight. So they are now, yep, there he is. Jenkins a little bit more timely, and this would be a very easy double kill.
I love it. Prepped, taken, Hextech Protobelt comes in, and I actually thought he was rushing for the Zhonya's. It was interesting, because usually sometimes we'll see with the attack speed buff, Blade of the Rune King, Hexbelt, things like that, but he just went Seekers to make sure he could stay alive versus Fracas and Ruin right into the Protobelt, and he is just omnipresent right now. Jenkins on the Kennen, something he loves, and it looks like TL's feeling a bit more comfortable, but not taking control of the situations after they happen. CLG is destroying the map. What Drake? What Drake?
Oh, I looked. Oh, I forgot. Dang it. I was so focused in the Rift Herald. I was like, what's going on? Okay, they took a turret. They got the Rift Herald. Where are they going next? I got to keep my head in the game.
It's all right. I forgot to ask you anyways. Ooh, Mission Impossible? Grig and Jenkins? Looks like they're just warding here. Oh, Wind, rinse and repeat, man. You were just here.
Oh.
You were just here.
Oh.
One ward behind him is not going to be enough. Ward is not crowd control. Death is the greatest crowd control. And Jenkins once again imposes that on Wind. Cleanse down.
Look at how much has happened from the pick that Grig and Yasui had on Fracas. The bot lane dive turned into another dive, into another kill, into a Dragon. Team Liquid has just milked a single play and now sits on a 3,000 gold lead and feeling really good because now you've got a gold bounty on 4 members of your roster. This is a huge advantage for this team thus far. And CLG is now thinking about the side lanes. How do you get the farm in the side lanes into these champions when Wind is so vulnerable? Same thing with Tuesday, same thing with Ruin. These kinds of picks really need to be thinking about grouping up instead. And it's not going to happen until the next 3 minutes. So this is a window that Team Liquid can be utilizing to get some more advantages here. Because this long lane against Yasui, he could easily take out Ruin here, which is why Phil is shadowing him. But there's 3 more members here, and here comes the fight.
Oh, Ruin could go down the quickness. Is only going to save him for a short period of time. Phil is now left alone. Winter's Bite as he gets the battle dance back to his teammate. Ruin almost left him there. He's like, come back, come back. You could see the comms, and they were clean. CLG gets out alive, but not getting a fight they wanted. A TP here from Tuesday has actually put him back in the mid as he was trying to get a little positioning. And he'll head back to top as they're trying to get these waves cleared on the side of CLG.
I think they want to dive the mid lane. Okay, they got spotted. They spotted out Jenkins using the Scryer orbs as well, since Jenkins was rotating from top down into mid. Even though Grig doesn't have his ultimate, the numbers advantage should be enough, and now they'll pull out of that one. I want to commend Phil for shadowing Ruin in that play, knowing that that was exactly when Team Liquid was going to go for the jugular on the Jason. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We want to see the setup for both these teams. Obviously, the game has to be about these drags, but the item spikes are starting to really favor Team Liquid right now. You've got Hurricane Infinity Edge on Aphelios at the moment. That is just a ginormous pick with not a single frontlining champion on CLG. Yasui will walk out of that safely, but here comes, can we get a kick flash? No, 2 flashes.
Nice flawless duet. Yeah, 2 flashes and a quick W coming into Yasui. He gets himself to safety. What are they good? Or is it E? I haven't played Aurelia in so long.
Which one?
W is Defiant Dance.
Oh, the names?
Yeah. Blade Surge, Defiant Dance,
There,
oh,
yep. Sounds about right.
Dead. Q over the wall. Oh, he had the perfect line too. Jenkins feeling it right now on this Kennen as he is just controlling a bit of the map towards the top side, and nobody can now mess with the hamster. He feels good. Counter Logic Gaming setting up towards the mid lane, and we've seen now that the picks for CLG banning 5 to the bot did not really affect Rikara and Yama. We'll see if it can now. Aphelios does have a team that kind of wants to walk up to him, but will he be able to kill all those people with a bullet time coming around the corner, over the fight, I should say. So still an option for this Misfortune to work, but I don't. At the point that TL is going to be powerful enough, they may just be able to walk through it and stop those bullets anyways.
That's what they want, right? They want to just immediately go after the flashless Orianna, the dashless Misfortune. You got the Volibear. You've got so many distractions that have to be dealt with from CLG that it can just free up a lot of the time for the Aphelios, which is where Fragas will have to come in and be thinking about how do I get to this Aphelios and think about one-shotting him. His build, not entirely the lethality build, a little bit more of that bruiser, trying to power farm with that Tiamat. And unfortunately, the power farming hasn't really paid off. Grig has more CS, higher kill participation. Well, we got the same, but he's got 3 kills in the bounty, so we'll give it to Grig.
Grig's farming hard. I mean, he's up against a Tiamat jungler who should just be wiping camps, right? So he is getting in there, using his shocky hands to make sure he's lighting things up. Drake's going to be here, and it will be number 2. Decently fast on the Drakes. They've had a bit of spawn time to live, but TL now with control of the map. Chronological Gaming is pushed up real far on the other side, though, with pretty good protection for themselves, so they may be able to create a kind of a bushwhack situation here on Aphelios. I think Ricard's going to play it safe, though.
Oh, dodges out. Ooh, not it. Not it. I thought it was too obvious there. You give too much time to the Aphelios to think about what you're trying to do.
They get his flash. They see the moment he was alone, though, they were like, initiate. We must go now. He is the only time he's been away from Braum, and now Yama is just going to stick to him like glue. Yusui pushing top lane. A 1-3-1 slowly coming in from Team Liquid here as they have to get across river. And only Jenkins has done so just far and head back towards mid. Great control of the map here by TL. It seems usually they're doing these things, as we said before, nothing was working. Maybe they were doing it too fast, over communicating or over diving. Here, in and out again. Make sure not to go for the secondary, but just a lot cleaner and putting a button on things when they need to on the side of Team Liquid for these fights.
They are having a field day with CLG, and they can just dive Misfortune here, but they'll let her go. Ruin shows up as the White Knight to protect his mistress back to the fountain. Go home safely, Win. Don't die again.
That's the second time we've seen Win with the Flash Cleanse going immediately. I mean, you expect that as you're playing the immobile Misfortune, but as soon as those things are going up, he has to blow them each time. Yusui hopping up. Okay, I thought he was going over the wall. A little bit of a trail here by Phil and Fragas with Win down the top side. So they'll start to see where CLG is pushing once again. Ruin has not stopped pushing this lane. And he's actually a pretty big boy at this point.
He is a big boy.
I'd like to see what kind of damage he could do, but it's up to him.
There's just such a hard time for CLG to actually enforce any advantage they have, and I think a big part of it is the jungle pick itself. If you look at the identity for what the CLG composition wants to do, a lot of it is just falling back, stand and deliver, not necessarily hard engage. Now, while Rakan can do both of those, Lee Sin is really not your guy for that. This is where the Trundle ban from TL really hurt CLG's chances, because you would have really loved to have a Trundle here. Now, Fragas can just kick out the Volibear and get out, but imagine if he was a Trundle with an Orianna Shockwave, with the Ruin Shock Blast, or even the Misfortune. There's so much value here, and we already know how strong Rakan and Trundle are as a combination of an engage and disengage duet.
Ornn was banned out too, right? No, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure.
Not sure.
But yeah, just things to hit confirm. I like what you're saying here for CLG's side. Like, make sure that the bullet time has more time to run over the opponents if they were stuck on. It's some crowd control, right? Here we got Grig pushing through. Didn't even care. Before, Phil would go in for those and everybody would collapse. But now TL's feeling confident, almost taken. Good job by Grig just setting up the... He can't be that careless, though.
They're going to go in.
They're pushing slow. Yusui's coming down. He'll be able to help the team. Actually, he may hold. He may tell the team to wait. He pinged top turret, yeah. I like the patience here from Team Liquid. They may have had CLG on the run, but then they run into what is Fog of War. And then they're going to be unsafe. So Team Liquid take... Garrison up that top side of the jungle, rather. make sure that Yasui is safe alone. He could probably take down Tuesday at this point by dashing around him. Tuesday only with that Seeker's arm guard at this point, and really can't even stand here and hold a flame too. Yasui dropping that top second tier turret from TL, looking pretty good. I mean, it's only one game in here for week 5, but we'll have to see if they can keep this momentum going here throughout the game to finish, and what they do for the rest of the week.
They definitely look a lot better than the last Team Liquids that we had seen. I mean, they are playing to the strengths of the individual champions. Players. Jenkins with his best pick. You've got Grig on a very powerful meta champion, and even Ruin and Fragas cannot find a pick on Jenkins, as not only does his build keep him fairly safe, but he uses his E, but he still has ultimate, and they're just not strong enough to go for this. Grig is collapsing, but this is just going to be a disengage. And 30 seconds into the Dragon, Team Liquid is already grouped up and ready to fight for the Vision, whereas CLG is not.
And look at that difference. It looks like they lost the same amount of health, but he's still near 2,000. Well, Fragus is almost down to 1,200 at this point. Healing up now, but yeah, Grig just feeling great. Thick skin on these fights. Got a lot of fur. I don't even actually know what he's wearing. Crystals currently. 4 seconds on Ocean, and that'll make a Volibear real happy.
Yeah, I think it is crystals, right? He's got some power shards in the back.
Yep.
Lightning shards, that's what it is. It's crystals that have been encrusted with lightning.
You can see it.
My buddy had an idea for actually bottling up lightning water and just selling it to people as electric water. Did you buy that?
Electric water?
Yeah, right? Like, get your electrolytes. Not true, but light water that has been hit by lightning.
I'll buy one, just so I can plug my laptop into it. Phil? Phil gets out of that one with a battle dance. Make sure he gets the shield off on everyone to stay safe. And Team Liquid's making quick but slow work of the turrets. They're just able to knock them down one after the other, but doing it methodically, making sure there's no reason or way to contest. Now Rikara's throwing up a few of the emotes here. We'll see what the next engage would be. Tuesday is off on a mission right now. He's just kind of farming, keeping lanes pushed, but I don't think he wants to stay here. He'll back. Unsealed Spellbook is there for him as he waits on what would be heal and flash right now. But everybody's kind of waiting. I think it's going to be maybe for this next Drake, a little bit of ward pressure here for Baron. But CLG almost has the upper hand if they can get there first with Vision, right? Shock Blast in, a little bit of poke, maybe some Orianna ball placement that could really take TL by surprise. But the windows for CLG are just closing for opportunities.
They will still have a ton of damage in these fights, so I think that they can definitely still hang on here. I like that Tuesday seems to be prioritizing the death cap instead of the Zhonya's right away. Obviously, he can get jumped in and killed right away, but if he can be the initiator with Phil or Fragas going in, hit a fat shockwave into these targets that don't have an ounce of magic resistance, it's only really the jungle and support. I think that CLG can just wipe Team Liquid and turn the entire game around. We just haven't seen that coordination from them thus far, so it's hard to pinpoint this as a fight that CLG wants to take, where so much of it has just been Team Liquid finding a single or two CLG members and just picking them off right away with how strong they are in these side lanes.
1,600 gold worth of bounties currently sit on Team Liquid, and they're only going to go up if they don't die. That's a ridiculous amount of gold right now that CLG could just gobble right up in a quick fight, right? If you take down the squishiest member, Rikara, 700 extra gold. That's wild, and easily a completed item for somebody that could change, especially if it's one of those DPSers on the side of CLG. Ruin and Jenkins once again at it. If they're not fighting the Krugs, they're trying to defend or take this turret, and it looks like they finally, on the side of TL, will lose their second tier bottom lane. Now both teams only have 1 second tier turret left before we get to those inhib turrets. I'm enjoying this game. They're testing each other. I kind of want to see TL go a little bit harder and not give CLG so much respect at this point, but I do agree with you saying that CLG has a bunch of damage, so it's about how can TL get in there? How can they use all of this KDA and money that they have built up?
So the last few times I got in there, it was Jenkins with the teleport. So they tried it one time.
Yeah.
They didn't want to force it. I think that's what they need to go for again. Now, because it's been such a hot minute since we actually had anybody fighting for Vision, there's no TP wards for either team. There's no real deep wards. So Team Liquid needs to be fighting for that. You got a minute 30. They're going to contest the Dragon instead of the Baron, and you cannot give this up if you're a CLG. Giving Ocean Soul to this kind of composition that just wants to be in your face is going to be a huge pain in the ass to deal with. So CLG fights for mid control, and then we'll have to split up. Now, they're thinking about dealing with the Irelia in the top lane since Orianna has TP, and a pick at this moment would definitely get you that Dragon. Let's see if they can actually catch out Yasui, because there is no help coming for him, and they hit him. I think he's dead.
The Elko plays can be big. Vanguard back, but it's not going to do too much. He can't get the healing. He can't wheel and deal. Jenkins comes in. That's going to be a one-man ult as he can't get himself around with a bit of movement speed from his items. Zooming.
Edie Gonzalez there, just making a beeline out of that play. And TP, speed, Spellbinder, E, Phase Rush. Setting a new record there in competitive
Bully, I
games.
think he went back and forth in the decision to attack 3 times, and we only saw him go back and forth once. That's how quick it was. That Drake's 20 seconds. A pretty good back and forth to take down Yasui. I feel like a few things that TL can do can tempt CLG to not take it right away, so we should get a pretty nice Dragon fight here. And this is where CLG should have that window. These are the fights we're waiting for. You have TL group, don't let them flank you, hit an Oriole Shockwave, hit the quickness, MF ult. Easier said than done, though.
Definitely the opportunity for CLG. Now, Team Liquid, if they fight this, it's a 4v5, but look at how clear Baron is. This was an opportunity for them to threaten the Baron with just how strong Aphelios is. He has the yellow or white gun as well, so that would have been really useful for them. They might be thinking about trying it now, and CLG just can't base this quickly. They don't have vision of this side of the map. They know Team Liquid is around and can melt this, so they're going to stop those ports. Only Misfortune can afford to do so. And the Baron is started, so Team Liquid goes for it a little bit late, so CLG will know this and will attempt to contest it. Ruin can TP as well.
There's a sweeper on Grig right now. Does not know there's a ward inside Baron Pit, so CLG is kind of able to hang out here and know they don't have to pressure right away. This is huge information for them. Also, Ruin from the top side is TP'd in. This is the pinch now coming in from Counterlogic Gaming with that pincer move, but they find Ruin. He's forced to flash over the wall. Phil does not want to hit the quickness button just yet. They just want to stop TL. I don't think that they know where all the members are. They're waiting to find Yasui. Now Ruin's going to have to get out of this when he hits Jenkins back, but Jenkins still slicing Maelstrom on, is trying to deliver the damage. Nice shockwave onto Yama and the rest of the team as a Fisher goes out. The damage is coming in from Rakara. He takes down one, and they start to turn CLG back towards the river. There's a kill coming in from Yasui as now they're on to Fragus, and it might be the last 2 members of CLG going down if they follow. Yasui Vanguard's edge forward, gets the charge, gets the hit, and swipes him down with the Ionian Blades for a triple kill.
I love that Team Liquid immediately sees Ruin and goes for him right away. And they're going to win the game right here, Rip. They don't need that Baron. They've got all the DPS alive. They can just end this, and they snap the losing streak and will send CLG into a 4-game losing streak.
Awesome stuff. We said, what would it mean for CLG? Well, it means things that need to be righted, but the focus is Team Liquid, bringing out Wheelhouse champions, things they love to play, things that felt comfortable, and we saw a method to their madness here as they do break that streak crumb. They take victory over Counterlogic Gaming Academy.
Oh, I think CLG is going to... Yeah, Fragus left the game. All right, they're all leaving the game. We just know what happens there. I can't meme on that one. But all the bans into the bottom lane department didn't seem to do anything. It feels like a lot of the weaknesses that came from CLG in the draft started before the game even loaded. And I think that Team Liquid is finally hitting their stride. Just pick comfort, pick what you're good at. It works. This is where all these champions are viable.
That is true, right? There's so many things being played everywhere right now. I'm sure there's more to even try out or things to synergize we haven't seen in a long time that very much so complement each other. And just seeing Jenkins Kennen kind of wreak havoc on everything. I hate Kennen Jace matchups. I'm sure most Kennens do, because if you even get behind it all, like we said, it becomes rough. But a lot of that, they just made sure it didn't happen, even after we saw Jenkins getting hit up during the first counter gank coming in from Fragus and Ruin. But we see Counterlogic Gaming trying a few things on their end. with Ruin now down on the academy team. Whether or not that means Deus moves up, right, is still to be answered. But interesting stuff as teams continue to shuffle around here in the mid part of the split.
Yeah, I think that CLG still has the same lesson to learn, focusing around those objectives down in the Dragon Pit. They had that first kill into the bottom lane. I think they could have been an easy transition into that moving forward since MF had so much lane priority then. Instead, it was a lot of the Rakan roaming around to try to make other plays. None of them really panned out except burning some summoners here and there. But with Jace getting that top turret, I think it was a big opportunity for them to make sure they focus on the objective game, which Team Liquid did. They didn't make mistakes around it. They were clearly superior at it, and they're rewarded for it.
It looked good, felt good. I'm sure there's confidence in the TL Academy house right now. So we are going to be stepping away, but on the other side of the break, we have way more games coming at you. It's going to be FlyQuest Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy. Don't go anywhere.
Verizon knows how to build unlimited right. You start with America's most awarded network, the one with unbeatable reliability 13 times in a row.
This network is one less thing I have to worry about.
Then you give people more plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need.
Verizon Unlimited plan is so reasonable, they could stay on for the rest of their lives.
You include the best in entertainment, and you offer it all starting at $35. Because everyone deserves the best. This is Unlimited built right, only on Verizon.